That's clearly not true. With due respect, Jeff Bezos is not working 10 trillion times harder than I am. Clearly, he's got something else going on. So if I can start to bust that myth, I can start asking myself, well, what does manifest? What does create the manifestation of my dreams? And the first thing is my beliefs. I have to unlock myself from beliefs that are actually antithetical to what I want to manifest. If you want, let's say that you want $1 million. A lot of people want $1 million, right? But you
Yeah.
don't believe that you're worthy of $1 million. You don't believe that you can have $1 million. You only think that having $1 million is very, very hard, and it's going to make you work to the bone, and it will involve selling your soul. You're never getting it. Never gonna get it. Never gonna get it. I think that was also on Vogue. Never gonna get it. Anyway,
Yeah.
the if you can start to unlock these patterns within yourself, if you can start unblocking these chains, these these weird covenants you made before you came to real consciousness about who you are, you will start to see in your life absolute miracles.
Yeah, I think it's all in your mind though, and
Yes.
wanting to do that. I think like you said, believing in yourself. I think that's where it all comes from, because if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. And I think like we
Yeah.
want other people to help us get there, but we have to get there,
That's
right?
right.
And
And
so,
it's not just that no one else will. That's again manifestation. The universe won't. If you
mhm,
don't believe in yourself, the universe won't either.
yeah.
That's it. It's that simple, cause and effect. So you have to dance with the universe. If you really want to defy gravity, you got to get on that broom and you got to believe that that broom is going to fly. I'm sorry for continually going back to Wicked. And if anybody out there has still not watched it, you got to watch Wicked. Go see Wicked.
It's too great, too great. So, the process, how long did it take you to write the book?
Oh, so this was a nightmare. I wrote a newsletter about my literary purgatory, and I like to say that this was like the worst thing that I've ever been through in business. It took me 7 years. There were at least five iterations of this book before, five drafts, and they were just not landing. And I think I had three or four agents before actually landing the agent who got me, the editor who got me, and the publishing house who made the right offer. I think a lot of authors will encounter this, right? Like it's a very tough process, but I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful that it happened this way because honestly, Carlene, they weren't all the drafts before, they weren't the book that I was supposed to birth into the world. They weren't the right service for people around the world with the message I really want to share with the world. This one is. So I'm kind of glad that I got beat up a little bit because it made the work better. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of us can look back at all of our lives that way, right? Like instead of thinking, I can't believe that crap took so long and happened so badly, and instead think it really made this cake a lot more delicious.
Yeah. I think what did she say? I forgot the actress's name, but she's like, there's no elevator to success. Unfortunately, you have to take the stairs.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I guess it took you 7 years to create the book that you had envisioned. And it's like all the
Yeah.
steps that it got to get there, right? And like,
Yeah.
the one thing I think we haven't spoken about is like, in order to get where you are, we have to know where you came from. So
That's right.
like, you as a person, where did you grow up? What was your
Well,
upbringing?
listen, I'm not a therapy person, so
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
coaching is rather different. I like to say
Yeah.
there's no blaming mommy here. We really want to think what your state of mind is now, where you want to go, and we want to solve
Oh,
for that.
yeah.
But I do think that it's helpful to look back, not in order to relive and not in order to relitigate, but in order to learn. That's the only thing that's very useful about the past. I grew up in a very, very nice home with loving parents. I won the lottery in that sense in life. At the same time, I also grew up, like almost everyone else, in a culture that told me what was the right way to live and what was the not ideal way to live. And because I'm very sweet and very pleasing, I chose to conform. So all my life, I did check and check and check the right thing, which I detail in the book. I went to the right schools. I married a tall guy, which, as we all know, is the holy high grail. I had a job in a corporation and then later an executive position in a corporation. I had the big house, all of it, until at 31 or 32, I really started collapsing in a deep depression. I became suicidal. And this is when I start asking myself, what is happening? Now, there were a few things that were truly happening. I was in an abusive relationship because I just wanted to get married so much so that I didn't disappoint my parents who believed that it was very good to be married, that I married a terrible, terrible person. And I was terrible with finances because I had very low self-confidence and a whole bunch of other stuff was really wonky. But what had truly happened, Carlene, was I had pursued a path that was not my path. Like so many other people, I chose to live a life that is appropriate instead of a life that is good. And that's again why I called it gilded. It looked real good from the outside. Nobody could tell that anything was wrong, but in the inside, it was just garbage. It felt terrible and I wanted out. So then, luckily, by the time I'm in my mid 30s, I decide to take a match and burn everything to the ground. Not physically,
Yeah.
metaphorically speaking.
Okay. Okay.
And one by one, I got divorced. I actually did lose all my things in a fire. I guess the universe has a sense of humor. I moved back to New York from Zurich, where I was living. I rebuilt my career, not yet coaching, but I started to go on a deep inner journey. And then in time, I discovered who I really was and what I truly wanted to do. And here we are.
Here we are. Um, I feel like, is there a song that goes with that one? I don't know.
Yes, there is. I've been to paradise, but I've never been to me. Or any song by Alanis Morissette is very appropriate for my life. I
Oh,
love.
Alanis Morissette. I
I
love
mean,
her.
think about
90s.
it.
Oh my
She
gosh.
has a
Yeah.
song for everything. She really
hmm
does.
hmm Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of references there. I can't pinpoint something, but
Oh
you
my
know
God, right now
what?
I'm thinking about Thank You. Do you remember
Yeah.
Thank You, India? Thank you,
Yeah.
Clarity.
Oh my gosh, my friend would love you. He loves Alanis Morissette. I like her too. She's great.
She's great.
And your story is great. And I think it's important because it without your story, it like we don't know who you are. And like it's important to
Yeah.
know the person behind the message, behind the book and behind the journey there.
Yeah. I
And
always say you should like whenever you're looking for a teacher, look to somebody who's really been through it. I don't think that people who've really been through it can teach. But I've really been through it. And I think also, unfortunately, that my story is pretty common. I think a lot of us get trapped in a life that we thought we were making conscious choices in, but we were not making conscious choices in. And then we end up waking up at 45 going, the fuck am I doing here? And that's usually a very positive moment. It just doesn't feel very good in the moment.
yeah. Or like you're just going through the motions and
Yeah.
like thinking and then when everything just stops, right? Because like listening to you makes me think of like my year for like 10 years. Like I was work not 10 years, sorry, 10 months. I was
Yeah.
working a job and it slowly started to like the job was toxic and it started to affect my whole like mentality, everything. And like you don't realize it until like everything like you said, crash and burn.
Literally, like, and that's why I say trauma is very useful because most of us won't move until something terrible happens. Like you just said, you're sitting there in a toxic environment for 10 months, not having the thought, I feel like I should leave. But then something traumatic happens and you go, okay, I have to leave. This is actually a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
it is a good thing. It is. It took me a while. Like you always go through those emotions
Yeah.
in life. You're like upset at yourself. Like you said, the whole high achiever and what your story just makes me think of like just various periods in our lives where we have that moment where we're like, okay, I have to change my path, right? And like
Yeah.
rethink everything, right? So
And it's a wonderful time to do so. The last chapter of my book, I think it's the last chapter, is called Pray for a Shitstorm. And many people are like, do you wish trauma upon me? No, but I am telling you that when it comes to your door, you really should start thinking there's a reason this is happening. And if you can think that way And if you can even think, "Is this isn't happening to me, this is happening for me," you are on the verge of glory.
Yeah.
It's what set my life free. It really is.
Hmm. Oh, set your life free. Oh, it's like that song, Nelly Furtado. I'm like a bird.
I'm
I
like a
like a bird.
bird, I want to
I want
fly
to fly
away.
away.
I
I don't
don't know where my
know
soul
how it
is.
is.
Okay, that's
I,
another very old reference.
you know what? Whoever's listening will get the references,
I really
hopefully.
hope so, because if there's like a Gen Z listening to us, they're going to be like, these are sad old people.
Okay, well, make a more, well, I hope I can think of a retro, like something more,
I have a
in
really good one.
the,
The
yeah.
Biebs, Justin Bieber, who, as you know, is my best friend, wrote a great song that actually started me thinking about this angle for the book. I swear, he really inspired it. It's called Lonely. He produced it with Benny Blanco.
Hmm.
And it goes, "What if you had it all with nobody to call? Maybe then you'd know me." And I literally thought about how many of my clients look like they have everything, look like they have it figured out, but they're actually alone. They're actually lying about how good things are. They're lying to themselves about how good things are. They're not sleeping properly. They're trying to maintain appearances. They're in jobs that are not the right ones for them or careers that are not right for them. They're in situations that they've chewed all of the flavor out of. Then what? Then what?